They say no one truly owns the world, but one name quietly does. BlackRock. A company so vast, its fingerprints touch almost everything you use, buy, or invest in. It manages more money than the GDP of almost every nation on Earth. Yet most people have never heard its name. When markets panic, it profits. When governments collapse, it's called to rebuild. And when you think you're diversified, you're probably just diversified inside BlackRock. Because the most powerful empire on Earth isn't a nation anymore. It's an algorithm. A code that quietly decides who wins, who loses, and who never even knows the game was played. And the secret behind that quiet control began with a single algorithm. New York, 1988. While Wall Street chased instinct and ego, a handful of analysts chased precision. They believed numbers could outsmart emotion. They called their idea BlackRock, and their weapon was data. Not just stock prices, but mortgages, currencies, energy, even government debt. If you could measure every ripple of the financial ocean, you could predict its storms. So they built Aladdin, a risk analysis program that simulated millions of futures before breakfast. To bankers, it looked like prophecy. To governments, it looked like safety. To Larry Fink, it looked like power. Maybe you felt it, that panic when markets drop and you freeze. They felt it too, and they decided fear itself could be programmed away. Because once you can measure fear, you can manage it. Soon, data replaced instinct, and trust shifted from people to the machine. Every client who connected to Aladdin handed over their secrets, their debts, their bets, their vulnerabilities. Piece by piece, the system saw what no human regulator ever could. The entire financial nervous system of the planet. But behind that miracle machine was a secret far more dangerous than anyone realized. Aladdin wasn't software. It was a brain that never slept. Each day it inhaled billions of data points and recalculated risk for nearly every major market. By the mid-1990s, the largest banks were begging to connect. Each connection gave BlackRock another window into the world's wealth. Larry Fink realized he wasn't selling analytics anymore. He was selling certainty. And certainty in chaos is priceless. Soon, pension funds, insurers, and governments joined in. Every decision, from interest rates to public debt, flowed through Aladdin's circuitry. The line between observing the market and controlling it began to blur. Most people chase ownership to feel safe. BlackRock learned that real power comes from knowing what everyone else owns. Because when you can see the whole chessboard, you don't have to gamble, you guide. By the turn of the century, Aladdin had become the pulse of global finance. Its predictions shaped policy, guided investments, and steadied economies. But every new client meant another surrender of independence. The world had traded chaos for comfort and didn't notice who was quietly holding the switch. And when the next crash came, the world learned how deep that pulse ran. Then came 2008. Markets collapsed overnight. Entire banks disappeared in days. Governments froze, and in the chaos, one name was called again and again: BlackRock. The US Treasury hired Larry Fink's team to untangle assets so toxic that even the Federal Reserve couldn't price them. While Wall Street begged for rescue, BlackRock was hired to manage the rescues. Its creation, Aladdin, had gone from software to lifeline. Every mortgage pool, every pension fund, every central bank report flowed into its servers. Within months, the system had mapped the arteries of global capitalism. Knowledge became leverage. Leverage became power. When the dust settled, BlackRock wasn't just alive, it was everywhere. It knew which companies would recover and which would die, and it quietly invested around them. Apple, Microsoft, JP Morgan, Exxon. If you own an index fund today, you already work for BlackRock. You just don't know it. You felt that helplessness when systems crash and nothing makes sense. BlackRock felt it too once and built a system that could never panic. Because if you can own the system that others depend on, you never have to fear it again. But what happened next would turn quiet influence into a $10 trillion shadow empire. As the world recovered, BlackRock did something no one expected. It recoded capitalism itself. It stopped competing with banks and became the bank behind them all. Aladdin now monitored risk for over 200 institutions in real time. A single eye watching the bloodstream of money. Critics warned, if Aladdin crashes, markets freeze. Yet governments kept granting it more access because every crisis proved the same truth. The system needed its shadow. Then came a new weapon, ESG influence. Under the flag of sustainability, BlackRock redirected trillions toward companies it called responsible. To the public, it sounded heroic. To insiders, it meant one firm could decide who gets funded and who fades out. Its moral algorithm became capitalism's compass, and morality in finance is the most profitable lever of all. Boardrooms changed, not because of law, but because of letters from Larry Fink. Align with our values, he wrote, or lose investment. That isn't advice, that's command. Across continents, politicians quoted him, activists attacked him, and markets followed him. BlackRock wasn't lobbying governments, it was governing markets. Maybe you've played it safe to keep your place or protect your image. That's what trillions of corporate dollars did under BlackRock's shadow. Because obedience disguised as virtue is the easiest business model on earth. And that lever would expose the weight secret hiding inside every modern empire. Power doesn't always come from owning things. Sometimes it comes from owning the data that owns everything else. BlackRock's real wealth lever isn't money. It's information asymmetry. While others trade stocks, it trades certainty. It doesn't need to predict the market. It simply watches what everyone else will do and moves first. It's like playing chess while reading your opponent's mind. Maybe you've wondered how the rich stay calm while everyone else panics. Because their systems already price fear into profit. When you stop reacting to emotion and start measuring it, you start thinking like them. The business model is deceptively simple. Manage everyone's money, risk none of your own, and collect a fee for reassurance. Every year, trillions flow into its funds, giving Aladdin more data. And data is power. The more people seek safety in BlackRock, the more powerful its machine becomes. The paradox? The calmer the world feels, the more one company silently grows. And the deeper truth? In modern capitalism, advantage isn't size, it's invisibility. And the more invisible they became, the more the world relied on their shadow. As artificial intelligence merges with finance, Aladdin is evolving beyond analysis. It's becoming self-directional. It doesn't just predict what will happen. It nudges markets so that its prediction becomes true. A feedback loop of power, where every trade teaches the algorithm how to control the next one. You've seen automation replace judgment everywhere. Now it's replacing the human heartbeat of money itself. Because once you recognize it, you realize the code only wins when you stop paying attention. Imagine a future where entire economies run on autopilot, invisible hands coded by invisible minds. Who regulates a machine that regulates the world? That's the question governments still can't answer. Because the next empire of wealth may no longer need humans at all. The story of BlackRock isn't just a warning, it's a mirror. Every comfort you accept without question becomes someone else's control system. And in that realization lies freedom. Because awareness is the first form of wealth, and the only one no empire can tax. So stay curious, question everything, and remember, empires fade, but systems evolve. Will you? Next, we'll decode the billionaire who used the same hidden lever to dominate an entire industry. Subscribe, because every episode reveals another rule the rich never explain. And his empire began with something smaller than a can of soda.